What's the creepiest thing you've ever witnessed? When I was a kid, maybe about 7, my parents went on a quick store run and left me at home alone, normal in my small country town back then. I was a little rock hound and had a collection that I often enjoyed playing with. As I sat behind our living room couch, our black cat was passing by me, and as it got to the end of the couch where it could see into the living room area, the cat's hair all stood straight up and it started hissing aggressively as if it was either super angry or scared. So naturally I leaned over to look around the couch, and I see large footprints pressing into the carpet walking through the living room, down the hall, and into my parents' room. I froze and stayed that way until my parents got home, and of course I told them instantly. They assured me everything was okay, blah blah blah. Maybe 10 years later I learned that 2 weeks prior to me seeing this, my stepdad had witnessed it as well when he was home alone. Still gives me goosebumps thinking back to it. That was the first experience of what ended up being several years of being haunted by something. Rough years, man. When I was 14 or so, I was alone in my room. The house phone rang, and my mother answered it downstairs in the kitchen. I still remember everything I heard her say. "Hello? Okay, oh my goodness, oh, that's awful, oh, God bless him, are you okay? Do you want me to come over? I'll come over right now, okay, I'll see you at church. Thanks for calling." Oh, how awful. I could only hear my mother's side of the conversation. She was really shocked and upset. I heard her climb the stairs to my room, and suddenly in one single instant, I went from being confused to absolutely clear on exactly what happened. It was like a fact just appeared in my mind if I remembered the spelling of a word. David hung himself in his bathroom. My mom knocked on the door and opened it, tears in her eyes. I was sitting at my desk and looked up at her and said, "David hung himself in his bathroom." And she immediately started panic crying and asking me how I knew. David was a guy from my church. I didn't know him very well, but my mom was friends with his mom. He hung out with my brother sometimes, but he went to a different school. He was about 16 or 17. I had no idea he was depressed. He was just a guy who I sort of knew. I had to talk to a social worker or something, who was working with David's family about it because my mother was convinced I knew something about it. But I didn't. My mother didn't say his name on her side of the phone conversation. I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation. I just suddenly knew. I have no idea why or how this happened. I've never had another instance like that since. I was a kid and it was Christmas Day and there was a knock on our front door. Expecting it to be family, my dad and I opened the door together and there was an old man standing there who was asking for directions to the train station. Our house was smack bang in the middle of suburbia, so he must have been walking in the wrong direction for hours. My dad gave him the directions and offered to drive him, but he declined, and thanked us. As he was leaving, he looked down at me and said something really strange. "Never go to that place, that scares you." This man was really, really old and walked at a shuffling pace. Shrugging off his comment as well-intentioned senility, I went back to the living room. As he was walking down our path, it started to rain. My dad went to get an umbrella from under the stairs to give to him, and when he went back outside, the man was gone. My dad ran down the path and up and down the street trying to find him, but he was nowhere to be seen. The place I was scared of was this shack in the woods I used to walk past on my way to and from school. Always gave me a bad feeling. A few years later, someone was arrested for murdering a child there. At the start of this year, there was an article in our local newspaper about a school director and former teacher that was accused of sharing and uploading child porn, rape, and child abuse. 2 days later, my mom calls because it was my former teacher and choirmaster, and she had received a call from the police, asking for my contact info to question me. Before that, I talked to a friend about potential victims because we both have known that person and were active singers. I tell the police the names of the suspected victims by Ohone and can get invited some weeks later to make a statement, because our fears were actually true and one actually was a victim. They asked about a suspected time span, because the person's age was still in the range of abuse of a minor, which is way harder than only child abuse in our law. I wanted to vomit. But that shit doesn't stop there. About a month later, I talked to my parents about that, and they mentioned that it has become more or less public knowledge that he used narcotics, and there are probably a lot more victims. After swallowing that pill, I remembered that I slept in a room with that guy when I was in primary school and we were on a trip with our choir. I have almost no memories of that trip. I don't know what happened. All I know is that my mind is fucked up since I thought about that. And to top it off, the choir was Catholic and the church didn't do a f-king thing about it. Damn. Edit. A lot of people express concern about my health, so I want to clear things up a bit. First, thanks to everyone who gave tips, helpful comments, etc. I really appreciate it. Second, I want to say that I am doing fine. I got my friends and family who support me and a good psychologist to talk to. I don't think about what if a lot and continue living my life. There is nothing I can do about it anyway, other than supporting my friends who are suffering from it. I work as a dog walker. We had a client who was an extremely rich and well-known coin collector that lived alone with his dog and had a bit of an alcohol problem. Really nice guy, just smelled like booze and was very disheveled every morning when we'd pick his dog up to walk her. One Monday morning I walk into his huge house and it looks like he's asleep on the couch as he normally is, so I called his name to wake him up. I realized he's half on his couch and in a really weird position. He wasn't waking up, so eventually I walk over to him and his eyes are wide open, blood coming out of his nose and mouth, and his hands are turning black and blue. Threw up on his patio and called 911. They said he'd been dead since Friday. He lived there alone and didn't have friends or family nearby, so I was the one that found him. Really sad, as he was very nice and not very old. But yes, still have nightmares of that wide open mouth and eyes with blood covering his face. Happened when I was about 12. I was just casually walking my dog one afternoon, and then I see some weird guy following me. At first I thought he was drunk, judging by his weird movements. But then he started hiding behind cars and trees, peeking out as though he wanted me to see him. Anyway, I ran as fast as I could and didn't walk there for a week. Mind you, this was happening while there was an actual serial killer on the loose in our town, so I might have escaped murder. At a friend's birthday party when I was 15 to 16, boys and girls were there as well as adults from the friend's family. I ended up being asked to leave because I almost knocked out his middle-aged uncle when I caught him groping one of the girls next to the pool. Piece of shit. 1. My parents live on a lake in the countryside. My mom burst into my room yelling about some lady that fell into the lake, wintertime, and was face down. I run down to the lake. My dad, 70 years old, sprints and jumps into the lake. Hoists the lady to me. I hooked my arms under her armpits and lifted. I tripped and fell back and she was laying on top of me, blue as could be. She was gone. Still bugs me to this day. She had a stroke and fell in. Her husband was there, but he was in his 90s and couldn't get her out. 2. I worked at a corporate legal office in college and stopped for gas in the downtown area of the city before heading home around 9 p.m. 2 guys were sitting in their truck watching me and gave me the creeps. I left and they started following immediately. My gut was telling me danger. So I made around 5 abrupt turns at random. They were still following me. At this point I'm thinking the odds of them taking this same route is close to nil. So I go to a street I know I can make close to 4 turns in quick succession. Hit these turns and turn off my lights. They drove by slow. 3. Driving in the middle of nowhere to meet my buddy at his house. When I say middle of now, I mean banjo/deliverance music. I'm behind this one car for about 20 minutes and we come to a stop sign. He sits there for about 1 minute odd at a stop sign with no traffic. So I begin to pull around and he cuts me off. I reverse and he reverses. I try to go around again and he cuts me off. At this point my adrenaline is running. Dude drives away slowly. I wasn't tailing him, so I have no idea what the deal was. 4. Last one. In high school, home alone. In backyard mowing the yard, and garage door is open in the front. Finish, go into garage, close garage. Now the garage sat underneath the rooms of the house and you could hear people walking around. I heard loud footsteps in my parents' room. I freaked out and ran inside. I yelled up the stairs for any of my family members to stop it. I got no response. At this point, I grab my dad's pistol out of the safe in the living room and yell upstairs that I have a pistol and to stop. If it's my family, if it's an intruder, I am armed. My state is castle law. I chambered around for the audio clue to indicate fuck around and find out. Call my parents as I was freaking out. My dad told me to not go upstairs. I sat there out of view of the stairwell till he got home. He took the pistol away and locked it up, and we went up there. His room had a screen door to a balcony, then went into the backyard. The door and screen door were open. Nothing stolen. Teratomas. Never knew tumors could grow hair, teeth and eyes. Edit, for the curious and foolish. NSFL. https://www.google.com/search. Q equals teratoma plus face and TBM equals ish and ved equals 2 kuj 0 ps 0 rt underscore 6 av smyphiag 2 c sijkiabak and oak equals teratoma plus and g's underscore lcp equals chjtb 2 guts 3 jux pay 1 pb kargamskiab dimikiab dogwipes anupupiat pobwag agafu lazibas yumska kabakabak and client equals mobile gws wizimg and a equals 5 sfu 4 NMLQJZ7S. PGBGFW. AG and B equals 662 and BIO equals 360 and client equals MS Android Oppo Arvo 3 Hashinkirk equals TEF7 XJ6P. Zoxam. Edit 2. I found out about congenital teratomas https://www.google.com/ingers. Ingirl equals https://3a%2f%2journal.medizi.com%2fwp content%2fuploads%2f 2020%2f02%2f Sarazit ekranu 2020 18.022.44.14.png and imreferral equals https://3%2f%2journal.medizi.com%2fa newborn with a giant teratoma of the right orbit %2f and pinid equals QLL1 Knoksh Ivim and vet equals 1 and docid equals Sufm 61 and 6 im and W equals 864 and H equals 1140 and source equals SH %2 FX %2 FIM. Babies with exploded eye tumors the size of their head. Equally NSFL. I do some vlogging from time to time. Nothing successful. I have like 100 subscribers. But, one of the things you have to do when you post a video on YouTube is choose or make your own thumbnail for the video. YouTube can just grab a screenshot from the video, but I like to make my own. Well, one time I had made a video, but got distracted by life or whatever and didn't make the thumbnail image right then. A few days go by and I'm pondering what to do, what image to use, what the title should be, and so on. Then one morning, I finally decide what to do. I sit down, open Photoshop, grab the image I want, tweak it, place the text for the title, go to export the image and name the file with the usual naming convention I have. I open the folder where I put my thumbnails, and there is a file with the same name as the file I just exported. I'm like, WTF? I open the file, and it's the same image with the same title in the same place as the image I had just made. I go back to the folder. I had made that file 3 days before. I was stunned. I had no memory of doing it. I'm a middle-aged man with no history of memory problems, don't drink much beyond socially, and don't do drugs. But, holy, what happened? I think I died after I made the image and respawned, but my latest memory backup was from before I made the image.